a stunt shave with Wilke, and a black watch. I'm Dave, and you're watching Barber Dave's Shaves and Such. Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Tuesday and we're doing a stunt shave. We'll get into that in a minute. But if you like the content on this channel and you like everything about shaving, cigars, and all kinds of fun gentlemanly pursuits, come and join us at the Shaving Cadre, www.theshavingcadre.com. And if you like live conversation, you got to come see me and my buddy Nurse Dave at Drinks and Dave's on YouTube. We have shows live every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific / Mountain Standard Time. For those of you in other time zones, figure it out. Anyways, okay, so today is a shave that I have been regretting, and since I was stupid enough to agree to this. My partner and good buddy, Nurse Dave, over at the Shaving Cadre and Drinks and Dave's, of course, has this razor that he purchased in England when he was on holiday a year, 2 years ago, something like that. He walked into a drugstore and wanted a razor from England, and this was the best he could find. This is, and those of you that have known me for a long time and have watched the channel for a while know that I absolutely abhor Shavettes. Other than a removable blade straight razor such as this. This is ergonomically perfect. What I'm about to show you would be a comparison, I would say, very, very faithfully to say that if the Titleist is a Ferrari, then what I'm about to show you is a Volkswagen Beetle with one less door, no tires, and an engine that doesn't work. And that is the Wilkinson Sword Shavette. The only redeeming factor of this razor is the fact that it says Wilkinson Sword right here. Ergonomically, this thing is crazy. Look at the width of those scales. It's big, it's chunky, and it's actually a three-piece shavette, which means that you have a cap that slides off, then you have a blade that separates from a carrier, and then you put a half DE blade in here. In the past, these type of razors have given me one of the most severe injuries I've ever had that required medical attention. So this is definitely a stunt shade. I do have a brand new Persona blade. Now, I don't know if you can see it because I don't have my glasses on, but one of the biggest problems is the angle of attack. And what I mean by that is traditionally most Shavettes or removable blade straight razors will have the top area completely in line with the blade. This one does not. The way this is inset, you can see that the actual blade of the Shavette actually protrudes inner to that. So you have a big square point that you have to be careful about. Now, what that means is you don't have to worry so much about your shave angle. That's going to come naturally. But what you do have to worry about is pitch and yaw. If you get the pitch and the yaw wrong, you're going to dig. So that's what we're going to find out today. But today is a two-parter, and I apologize, it's going to be a little bit longer than normal. Bacon 4851, one of our subscribers, had commented about the lather that I get on my shaves, and it is a method that I use. It is my method. I'm not saying it's the only one, but there's not one soap other than Eucharist, which we talk about, that I can't get to lather. So what we're going to do is I had reached out to him to ask him exactly what he used so I can try to emulate what he's getting and show him how to get good lathers. Now, this will be a face lather, which is what he did. The soap today is Seaforth Black Watch. Now, honestly, this is one of the easiest soaps to lather, so I don't know where he's going wrong. I didn't get any feedback back from him, so we'll go ahead and go from there. And then Black Watch everything else. So, for those of you that are been shaving for a long time, please be patient, bear with us before we get to the hopefully wonderful shave that this Wilkinson Sword gives us. Okay, so what I do, and I did not know whether he was using a synthetic, a badger, a horsehair, a boar brush. I didn't know. So what I did is I took the hardest brush that I have to lather, and believe it or not, the hardest brush to lather is my most expensive brush. This is a Morrison Ford & Rand Apellina. It's in my A&W root beer glass for those kids that remember we used to be able to get these. Now what I do is I soak that, since it is a Badger, but it is very wet, and this is a lather hog. This thing will hold on to lather forever. So what I do is I literally shake out almost all the water out of this. So I'm starting with mostly a drier brush. I mean, it still has some moisture in it, but it's as dry as possible. Now, as far as the puck is concerned, I will take a little bit of water and float it on top. I'll pour that out. So now the soap and the brush are somewhat moist, the soap more so. So what I'll do is I'll take and start swirling. And like I said, this is for bacon. I'll start swirling it here. Okay, and I'll get a little bit of a proto lather. Then I do a plunger action a few times. So I'll actually drive the tips of the brush and use it just like a shock absorber. And I'll do that for a while. The one thing you don't want to do is load light. I mean, it's soap. So I'll try to get a good proto lather on this brush. And like I said, this is the hardest brush I have. And I will look for, the soap to be deep inside. Now, it's going to be very dry and pasty to start off with, but we're going to add water. Now, the key is adding water slowly until you get a good lather. So that should be about enough. I'd say that's probably 15 to 20 seconds. Go longer if you're feeling that that you can't get enough soap. So that's pretty well loaded. And like I said, with the plunger, you're actually squeezing air out, and then when you pull the brush out, you're creating a vacuum. So that way the soap will actually get deep into the knot as well, because it'll get sucked back in. Okay, so let's see how we do. Make sure your face is well hydrated. If you use a pre-shave, use that. If not, just make sure it's well hydrated, and then start face lathering. Now, like I said, you see how pasty this is? Well, don't get too excited yet as far as putting more water in, because it's going to take you a while. And by the way, the Black Watch is just a wonderful scent. I think I reserve this scent more for winter because it does have sandalwood and some incense in it, but it also has geranium and some other good stuff. And I'll have to look at it when I get the glasses out. So what you're doing here is you're stimulating the sebum glands to have some of that oil in there mixed with the shaving lather. Now, see how pasty that is? Well, I'm going to go ahead and do some brush strokes just to put a top layer on. Then you can do one of two things. You can dip your brush into the water, just the tips, or you can take your hand and just drip some water into the knot. I do both. And then put some water on, add a little bit more, put some water on the other side of the face, and then go at it again. Now, this may seem laborious, and if it is, then you can always bowl lather, but you're going to have to do the same thing to get the soap consistency right. So if you see, the soap is starting to get a sheen to it. It's still way too thick for my liking, so we'll do the same thing. Again, you can either just take your hand and add water this way, or you can dip the tips of your brush. Now, what I do is I'll put a little bit on one side of the face and my neck, then I'll go back, put a little bit more. Now, like I said, this brush holds on to lather and water like just amazingly. So if you have a synthetic brush, you may not have to go through all these watering steps. And then once you agitate and incorporate the water into the lather, then you can come back with brush strokes and do this. This is pretty good. I'm going to leave it a little thicker today because I'm using the Wilke. Okay. All right. So this is the stunt shave portion. Now, Nurse Dave has had successful shaves with this, but he also said that this razor bites him a lot. So, and I'm not a big fan of these, so let's see what happens. Also, always with these Shavettes, make sure that top cap is locked down and that the blade is even. So let's see what happens. Now, with the fact that that front edge sticks out, I'm being with my yaw. You can't really see it from there, but I'm actually purposely going tail heavy. And the reason being is I don't want that front edge to dig in. And where it's really important is around the lip area. So I'm purposely almost favoring the heel of the razor as opposed to the toe. And where you can get in trouble is here too, when you rotate down. Although I will say, it is very smooth. Ergonomically, it's not fun because the scales are so wide. This is another reason why I do not, contrary to popular belief, is I do not recommend these as if you're going to get into straight razor. I do not recommend these as the first razor, although a lot of popular belief is that, oh yeah, use a shavette first. I do not think so. I think it requires way more concentration. Because of, like I said, the pitch and the yaw that you need to maintain to make sure that you don't dig that leading edge in. Now, I will say one thing. The construction of this portion of the blade is fantastic. The retention of the blade is excellent. What I would do is if I owned this, I would take these scales and toss them and actually get a new set of scales. And it may not be too bad for a shavette. Beautifully smooth shave. So far. Now here's where it gets interesting when I start doing the against the grain pass. One thing also on the lather bacon is make sure your face is well hydrated between passes. Now for me, I've already done enough agitation on my skin with the brush, so the second pass is usually just paintbrush strokes because I've got enough water in the brush for that. Now with this brush at the end, I could add some water right now, but I want to make sure I have enough cushion for this razor. So far so good. Here's where it gets, or where it could get a little dicey, is when I do this. This is my against the grain pass. When I get close to my ears and stuff like that, which so forth. Okay. So far, the razor is very easy to handle. But again, I don't like that shortness of a DE blade. So let's see. That wanted to dig. Again, believe it or not, where my eye is at is not where the blade is touching down. My eye is on the leading edge of the blade. Now, it should be noted that Nurse Dave does not shave with regular straight razors. He actually shaves with Shavettes and the Titleist. Where you can get into trouble with these is in this area because you've got angles and anywhere around your ear or anything like that. That was a close one. I felt it wanting to dig in, but I backed off because I had changed my angle or my yaw a little bit. So far, this is a very smooth shave, but I base that on the fact that the Persona is just a wonderful blade and the retention capabilities of this shavette. Another thing you have to look out for, and by the way, that is not a cut, that was that angry follicle that I've had, is the fact that DE blades are flat. In other words, you know, other than right at the very, very edge of the blade, is there any type of convex? So these are thinner, and that's also something that makes shavette a little bit more challenging to shave with. Here's where I usually get into trouble with these, is because I have a tendency to want to yaw the blade this way, and that's the kiss of death. So what I do is I overcompensate, and I'm really shaving with mostly the heel, you know, midpoint to heel. And I'm trying to be really careful with that leading edge. Oops, I think I did it. I think the leading edge dug into my cheek, which is, I think, where Dave has the same problem. Well, actually, I don't know. I felt a bite, but I don't know if it did anything. Huh. It's providing a really good shave, I gotta say that. Again, for your lathering, bacon, make sure your face is really wet. Now, I will go back to the agitation type of application of the lather. Now, traditionally, your lather should thin out as your passes increase because you're removing the soap from the brush. This one holds on to everything. Water, soap. I mean, look at this. So it holds on to the lather quite well. But again, it's the hardest brush I have to lather consistently. So if you're using anything other than that, you're probably fine. Now, again, this is a little bit dry, so I'm going to add a little bit of water. And I probably added just a little too much. So I still want to have as much cushion as possible with this razor. And that's another thing. You know, depending on the razor you're using, you may adjust your lather accordingly. And don't be afraid to do that. Okay, so far so good. Last pass, I did have one mishap, but it doesn't look like it weeped at all, and that was my fault because I didn't adjust the angle, or the pitch, or the yaw, rather. Now, see, traditionally, when people are going, most people, this is their against the grain, but this is my across the grain. But where your jawline meets your neck, a lot of people will be doing their upward stroke and tilt the blade to get up over the jawline. Well, with this razor, it's counterintuitive. If you do that, you're going to cut yourself. So that's why I think that this razor, or these types of razors, require a lot more concentration. than a traditional. Now, there's another thing that I almost made a mistake. As I was going up, my cheek, I did not stretch my cheek down, and it started to flex up with the blade. Now, when using like a feather SS, you have that leading edge that'll stretch. These don't have that, so you have to do it the same way as you do a straight razor. Yeah, this, I'm paying a lot more extra attention, and I'm still right on the edge of where I could injure myself pretty badly. I can tell by what I'm feeling and what I'm doing, but I'm really trying to concentrate heavily on that heel and watching that toe. And believe it or not, most barber schools use these razors to train their people with, which I think is just absolutely stupid. And a lot of the barbers will never move on to other razors. Again, even when I'm doing my fool's pass, as I hold the razor, I'm actually pushing out with my thumb. To get that leading edge away. So as long as you have good situational awareness with where the blade's at all times, you should be fine. Okay, now I do have my typical area, and this has been a great shave so far. No nicks, no cuts, just that one small area there, but it didn't even, but I'm going to push the envelope and try to do some cleanup and flat blading. And here's where it gets fun. Again, I'm putting pressure to put the yaw towards the heel. And that's why in my straight razor learning series, I talk about locking in that, because if you do this with this razor, it's not going to be a happy ending. Yeah, flat blading this one is a little spooky. Now, is this a razor that I would use regularly? No. But is it as bad as some of the shaves that I saw Dave use with it? No. It's actually very, very smooth. But again, you have to concentrate the bejesus out of this razor to get it, to not kill you. Very smooth DSBBS shave all the way through, including that. Let's see what the alum says. Not bad. A little bit of a bite, but I expect that with a brand new razor blade. We'll let that. So, as we all know, I'm a professional, and but I got to tell you, I had some apprehension with this. And a lot of ribbing from Nurse Dave, but all in all, not a bad shave. Just it just requires a lot more attention in what you're doing, because again, as you can see with where that blade is, there's that little part that sticks out, and as long as you make sure that your yaw and your pitch are correct, you're fine. So not a bad shave. For Bacon 4851, I hope that the lathering, kind of the mini lathering tutorial helped you. And like I said, especially with this brush, because this brush is the hardest brush I have. It's one of the most luxurious brushes I have. It's got one of the best knots in it, being a Rudy Bay knot. But I think it's packed too densely, so it hangs onto the water too much. Yeah, it feels great on the face, and its tips have gelled wonderfully, but I think there's just too much hair density in this knot. I think it could be a little bit less. Maybe if the loft was a little higher, it would be okay. But still, a nice brush. I love it. Okay, and for our witch hazel today, oh heck, let's use lavender, since lavender is in Black Watch. And if you haven't tried Seaforth products, you need to. They're wonderful, old school. Some of the stuff is vintage as far as the fragrances and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely check out Seaforth. And they've got Black Watch, Spiced, which is kind of a light take on Old Spice. They've got Heather, which is a wonderful fougere, ferny and stuff like that. And then they've got, oh God, Fleur de France, which is a very, very nice aquatic. And I think he may have one or two more, but iced lime, I think. But go over to Seaforth and check out his catalog, because it's very, very nice. As I said, normally I would not wear this in spring or summer because I feel it's a little bit heavy, but it starts out very citrusy, but when it dries down, the sandalwood and incense really kick in. And for me, in the spring and summer, especially out here in Arizona, it's a little bit too, almost too cloying in a way. Club and talc today. Powder bomb. Wow. Okay, I went a little nuts on that. But yeah, that where I thought I was going to get a nick doesn't look like it actually happened. But way too much powder. Holy crap. Okay, and for our EDT today, again, Black Watch. And this is a powerhouse. This EDT that Dennis has created is almost as powerful as an EDP. I mean, this is a monster. So anyways, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for being patient with this longer video. Bacon, I certainly hope that lathering video certainly helped. And for those of you, Nurse Dave, that were waiting for the big Daytona wreck, it didn't happen. I'm a professional. Look at that. Beautiful with the Wilkinson Death Sword. Hope everybody has a wonderful week. We'll see you again next Sunday. And remember, our next big giveaway will be at 1,500 subscribers. I'm Barber Dave. This has been Barber Dave Shaves and Such. Again, have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next Sunday. Take care.